Thank you, everybody, for being with us. We are now turning to the first panel of today, and I'm very pleased to introduce our 4 panelists. This is meant to be a very interactive session. I will warm us up with a couple of questions to each of our panelists, and then I'll open the floor for general questions. So I would like to start with you, Andreas. In your statement, you talk about the importance of having innovation, radical ideas, and we all seek to have such radical innovation. But we also know that when we do have a radical, disruptive innovation, it's poorly received at the beginning. It's difficult to raise funding, and it's even more difficult to turn it into a product. There are many stages that need to be overcome, but you have had many successes yourself. So would you be able to speak to us as to one of these successes and what the challenges were to overcome all of these?
Thanks, welcome. I take the example of, on one hand side, just having another new drill to introduce to the market, or doing a concept like what we delivered a few years ago, a robotic drill J-bot. Mm-hmm. Now, if I bring a new drill to the market, I demonstrate it in front of the customer, and I leave it with the customer, and it will be applied. If I bring a robotic device to the customer and demonstrate it, and I leave the site, nothing will happen. Why is that the case? If you want to introduce something that is fundamentally different, I think it impacts the whole value chain, the whole workflow on a customer, but also in the whole ecosystem on the construction side. And to implement something like these conceptual innovations, that means you have to have that full understanding. And it's not only developing the product, but it's more also really understanding how to implement it and how to guide the customer also to make it a successful implementation. So it's just more than only product engineering. It's re-engineering processes at the customer level.
Thank you very much. I think this is really the goal of this panel, is to start thinking about how do you go from a fantastic idea to turn it into a product, and how do you ensure that on the way there, the fantastic idea remains a fantastic idea. I'd like to turn to you, Agathe. In your statement, you push forward the very concept that we now have robots that are very versatile in their application. We have seen this in the talks this morning. We have robots that can be used for prosthetics. We have robots that can be used in the fields, locomotives, in interaction with humans, and so forth. Yet there are areas in which we don't have robots yet. And conversely, as Josie reminded us, we also have climate change issues where we may want to rethink whether we really want to have robots in certain areas because they're costly to build and they necessitate a lot of energy. So could you speak to us a little bit about where you think really robots should be and where perhaps they're a luxury we may want to rethink?
Yes, thank you. Robotics has a huge impact in different kind of applications, but I think there are still some domains where robotics is quite limited. I think we heard from Josie this morning that agriculture, precision robotics is a way to automate agriculture, but still, as we see in her presentation, kind of very delicate tasks are still used or be done with manual labor. I think also in construction. So we have, for example, for building construction, there are tools, robotic tools, but they are not used for complete structures. So I think there is also a lot of potential here. And the third field would be healthcare. I think it's a very important topic. And if we look at hospitals, there are a lot of workflows we need to be automated. So I think about medication, transportation, logistics in hospital, patient care. So there are a lot of need there. If you talk about energy consumption, the need to reduce energy and to care about climate, I think we have to focus on this kind of application for sustainability. And of course, agriculture, it's clear that we can save in resource, we can save water, we can reduce number of pesticides, so it's one way to be sustainable. Of course, in construction, there is also ways to build energy efficient buildings. And well, the third thought about energy consumption would be in industry. So if we can provide very efficient solutions for logistics, so we also save a lot of energy as well.
Wonderful, thank you very much, Agathe. And it's good that you brought up the fact that construction is still devoid of automation to a large extent, and I want to bring up the fact that we have an NCCR on digital fabrication, which is hosted here at ETHz Zurich, and I think they have a boost, and there is quite a lot of energy being spent now on designing more autonomous systems that can supplement. This is also an area where, unfortunately, we do see death every single month, and automation could also decrease the risk in this area. I'm turning to you, Marco. You have created so many startups. I have difficulty keeping track of this. And startups are a wonderful way of transferring innovation from the lab to an actual product. But often they rely on raising money, being venture capital. And we do know how difficult it is in Switzerland compared to other areas such as the US or China. We are only raising a tenth of this. Now, it's a dream often to raise capital because it allows you to really go from something completely disruptive to an actual product. But on the way there, sometimes, because you rely on external funding, you lose a little bit of the original idea. So what is your stake? Where is the good trade-off between raising enough funding and at the same time keeping your own original idea for the startup?
I think a lot of this connects already to what Andreas said before. It's heavily depending on the product complexity. If you think about the software package, you might be able to just bootstrap and do it without a lot of external funding. If you do hardware system, it takes a lot more. And also on the market, if you have a new market that you have to develop, it takes longer time to be there. But I think even more so, it's depending on the people that are behind it. Some say we want to grow fast, have a fast exit. That's perfectly fine. And others may have the idea, well, what I'm doing, this is my passion. I want to do this for a long time. And they use this entrepreneurial spirit of making a company more of being able to do what they really want to do. Now, this change that you mentioned from having VC money in or having customers in that transforms the original innovation into a new direction, I don't think it's bad. I think it's an absolute necessity. We are coming, and I think most of the people here are coming out of an environment where we have developed a lot of technology, a lot of innovation in the technology, but we are not the people that are that close connected to the market. We need to have somebody to help us doing this. And I think this innovation just goes beyond the pure technical innovation in university to keep going. So that means we need to have the right VCs that understand the problems and understand the markets, or the right, and hopefully not only one customer, but many customers that help us shaping this.
Thank you very much, Marco. I'm sure we have many people who either want to create a startup or have created one, so they may piggyback afterwards with the Q&A. Nicola, I think you have a different view. In your statement, you try to push us to think that if we get funding, it shouldn't be a typical example where you raise a lot of funding and then you exit, and off it goes, and maybe the idea disappears or becomes something else. And there are also examples. I mean, one of my startups is more of a family type of company. It goes with very little money, just immediately started with customer, and then essentially had a conversation with their customers. So, do you want to speak more to what is your dream in terms of the type of ideal startup, and how can we make sure that they really turn into a company that lasts for 10, 20, 50 years?
So maybe my statement has been over-interpreted. I agree with all of you, with Marco. You need money, yeah? It's difficult to create a company and grow it without money. You need money, that's no way out. What I find interesting is that, well, take the innovation booster. We have question one. Criteria number one is that radical innovation? Criteria number two, does it create jobs? Sorry guys, you don't create jobs with radical innovation. With radical innovation you start and then in 10 years maybe you create jobs. So there is an oversimplification of the journey of entrepreneurship. We have this already at that level, and then we have also the second step, which is, I saw the first entrepreneurship courses I saw at EPFL, it was several years after that I started being an entrepreneur myself, was really going in front of students and saying, the secret is this one. You have a great idea, you get a lot of investment, and then you do exit, finish. It's more complicated than that, and you also said a lot about this point. So what I try to say is that sometimes this oversimplification results in indeed having maybe radical or good innovation, searching for money and trying to exit. And by the way, to all of you, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you just want to make money and not to create value, the best thing to do is to have a great idea, ask for money, and exit before delivering. Basically, you sell dreams. This works very well. But if you want really to create value, then you have to go to market. In order to go to market, you have to talk to customers. You have to understand their pains, their problems. And you have to do this in parallel with the searching for money. So the problem we may have is that if it is too easy to get money, which is not the case in Switzerland, I agree, huh? But if it would be too easy to get money, then it would allow people to hide from the real market, which is not good at all. You have to go out, you have to face the market, you have to understand the problem, and that's how you can then create value faster, and maybe you need a bit less money because you can create revenue. By the way, another thing, the startup ecosystem in Switzerland is fantastic. Take Scale Up Vote, take the others. The metrics they use are how much investment you got and how many employees you have. No one talks about revenue. All the newsletters you get in your inbox, take a look. Oh, this one got 20 million, they got 5. No one talks about revenue. For me, this is a problem. It's not the right message. The goal should be revenue at the end. Of course, we need to go through radical innovation, investment, but at the end, you have to create value, and if you create value, someone will be willing to pay.
Very true. I'm turning now to the crowd, which I can barely see, to be very honest. But if there are hands raised, please do raise it very high so that people who have the mic can come to you. Yeah, thank you for dimming the light. Do we have any question to our panelists?
You see, no one cares about creating.
Oh, no, I do see. No. They're just shy. But we need a brave person to start.
Hello. I would like to ask for the robotic business. For robotics, I think for now it's still very hard to native work in unconstructed environments. But how could we do that with some robot products for that, for very complex situations, such as for the in a house to have people for cooking or some products like that? So I think most of the institutes are just doing research on that complex problem, but not selling products. Thank you.
Shall I take it? I think as you point out correctly, it's not only a problem that is hard from a scientific point of view. That's why all the research labs, or many research labs, are still working on this. And Al just pointed out in his presentation that is like a fundamental problem. That's why they're opening up this AI Institute to solve these kinds of problems. And then on top of this, the question is like, who wants to have this robot at home, and like, who is paying for this? Because it's super complex systems which are very expensive. If you look at your household robots, you may have a cleaning robot, but that's almost it. If you have to invest 100,000 to buy something bigger, more capable, there's very few people that can do this, and that's the hard problem, right? So how do you build together technology together with the market and customers that will absorb this?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have a question mainly for Nicola. I'm at the very beginning of the entrepreneurship, journey, and I came to the point very recently that making revenue is more important than raising money. And I was wondering, how do you suggest what's the way to realize what's the best point to go to the market? Because when your product is not really ready and you want to validate your idea, you made a lot of assumptions, you try to validate it based on interviews, but when it comes to paying, the story changed. So I was wondering, what is the right time to try to catch some customers, real customers?
Thank you for the question. So I have indeed a lot of experience, 20 years in bringing technology to market. So I know a lot of things that someone should not do. Unfortunately, I don't know so many that you should do. But about your question, it's very interesting. There is one thing that is very often used to try to go to market, which is very often, as you said, you start with a product. Well, the first thing, please do your homework. You have to be sure that what you are proposing to the market generates enough value for someone to be able to pay, as Marco just said before. That's the starting point. Then, in order to try to enter the market, something that is very often used is that instead of selling the product in the beginning, you sell it as a service. Selling it as a service has the advantage that you can hide the problems. Because if you, instead of just selling it and that's it, you have someone on site delivering the service to the customer, you can indeed have a product that maybe only worth 95% and you can hide the 5%. Of course, you will get less profit, but this allows you to have real proof of concept on the field with paying customer. You can measure how much they are willing to pay. You can measure the perceived value, and this can help to go faster to the market. I'm sorry, it's just a small idea, but that may help.
Yeah, maybe I add another perspective. If you have an early prototype that you can at least demonstrate, and then you do something like lead user workshops, you know, that you select really a small number of users that basically can give you a lot of information about acceptance, basic functionality, but also that give you an idea on, you know, willingness to pay at the end of the day, because your starting point was revenue.
Yeah, and even that is not for free. Huh? It will take you energy, money, organization, etc. But I mean, that's my main message. Go out. You need to do that, do other things. Just talk, do interviews, but go out. Staying in the office and doing radical things will not solve the problem. Yeah. A microphone in front, one there. Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Okay, thank you very much for the good talk. I've got a question concerning the ideas that usually a startup is based on. Could you propose a procedure how to judge if an idea is in fact worth building a company on it?
If only.
Should I say something?
Yes.
No, to be honest, I think the best way to judge, but that's very simplistic. Huh? If I would be you and I have an idea, I would try to find experts that did something similar and confront to them. And you have to find people that are very honest to you, because the first reaction is always, oh yeah, beautiful, do it, it's great. But you have to find people that are able to do constructive criticism about your ideas. And that's the first thing I would do. That's why the network, for me, is the most fundamental part also in this game when you want to start a company. Being able to have a network in your field is great. That's again going out. I have spent in the beginning of the company a lot of time going to this association on Swiss European level in the field we were in. And that was super helpful because you have really great people with a lot of experience. And I was very surprised how much they are available if you have questions. So that would be my advice. Try to find experts and talk with them.
If I can add, I think just try it. We're living here in an environment, and we're doing something where if you fail, you get 100 other job offerings. Just try it. And it's no bad thing if it doesn't work out.
Is it working? Yeah, now. Thanks for the interesting talks. Now my main question is, what are you missing within Switzerland to further boost innovation, or what is hindering you most? Is it like talents, money, testing infrastructure, regulations that are missing?
Agathe, do you want to take this?
Well, I will say the same. Actually, very important is networking, and I think it's well, it's a combination. If you, of course, we have the ETHz, EPFL, so that's very very strong in basic research, and we have also the University of Applied Sciences. So it would be one way to combine all this expertise. And on the other hand, you have the innovation parks in Switzerland, and they also have a good transfer networking platform between industry and academia. So I think this whole community in robotics will help to focus on to foster innovation.
But most importantly, we need to know each other. And I want to piggyback with the fact that this is what this forum is about, is for us to get to know each other, because often you need to partnership, to create partnership. And it's so surprising, we're a small country, but we still don't know how many different stakeholders there are, how many competences there are, which are the key players that we should be working with. I can see that we have 1 minute left. Geez, time flies. There were many questions. So let's take two real quick.
But then 30 seconds, huh?
Hi, thank you very much. I have a simple question. What would be your advice for some startups that would like to compete with the big societies like Disney, for example, in the field of robotics?
Good luck.
It's not an advice.
True. I think it's underestimated how much more powerful a small entity can be. If you act as a group that can move fast and talk to Moritz and ask about the bureaucracy that they have in order to get something like this running. And as a small company, you can potentially move much faster. Ideally, you find synergies. You find either a way that you can long-term have there an exit strategy, or something where you can collaborate and provide technology. Because building up the huge Disney parks in order to have your products creating revenue, I think that's probably too big of a bet, but at least to provide technology could be very useful.
But I want to jump on that. I think that's one of the missing points, also for the question before, in Switzerland. There is not enough collaboration with the existing companies. I know that everyone wants to be Mark Zuckerberg, well, maybe not. Well, everyone wants to be Elon Musk, I don't know. But if we want to create value, sometimes it's better to collaborate with existing companies instead of competing. Of course, you should first do your thing, as Marco said, but then why not collaborating with Disney? It's a fantastic brand. It could be either acquisition or collaboration.
All right, Nicola, you told me 30 seconds, but then you used the other 30 seconds. So unfortunately, we have to break, but there's going to be a lunch, networking lunch, so you will have plenty of opportunities to ask our panelists more questions. I want to take the opportunity to thank them warmly for their presence and for all the good insight that they gave us. Thank you.